The ceiling was bleeding fire. At least, that's how it looked to Marcus Hadlock as sparks cascaded in frantic showers above his head, molten metal spitting like furious rain. He flinched, cursed, and jammed the hydrospanner deeper into the plasma conduit. The rust bucket horizon groaned around him, a noise like an old man complaining about his joints, and somewhere behind the bulkhead something hissed with the kind of hiss you never wanted to hear in space, the kind that suggested vacuum was eager to make your acquaintance. Not today, Marcus muttered, shoving his shoulder against the panel to hold it steady. His toolkit floated an inch off the floor before the artificial gravity remembered its job, thunking the wrenches back down like sulking children forced into line. He hated this ship. He loved it too, which was worse. A sane man would have abandoned the horizon years ago, traded it for something sleek and obedient. But Marcus liked puzzles, and nothing in the galaxy was more puzzling than keeping this flying coffin alive for one more haul. The air smelled faintly of ozone and old socks. That was normal. What wasn't normal was the silence behind him. The horizon had a crew, ragtag, underpaid, occasionally sober, but usually someone was around to shout advice or insult his repair methods. Now there was only the groan of the hull and the faint echo of his own pulse in his ears. Then a voice cut through the tension, quiet, deliberate. "You're holding it wrong." Marcus jolted so hard he smacked his head against the conduit. The sound reverberated like a gong. He spun, clutching his hydrospanner like a weapon, ready to face whatever monster had crept aboard. It wasn't a monster. It was her. She stood in the doorway of the engineering bay, framed by the flicker of faulty lights. Long hair fell forward over her shoulders, hiding most of her face except for the outline of ears that curved upward in a way Marcus had never seen outside of old Earth fantasy holovids. Not pointed daggers, exactly, but long, elegant arcs, like antennae tuned to a frequency only she could hear. Her eyes caught the flickering light, cool and unreadable. Marcus swallowed. "You trying to kill me with stealth entrances?" "Because congratulations, it's working." The woman's lips twitched, almost a smile but not quite. "If that conduit ruptures, stealth will be the least of your problems." He blinked at her, then at the glowing, half-repaired conduit, then back at her. "Well, thank you, mysterious doom prophet. I'll add that to my growing list of anxieties." He gestured with the hydrospanner. "Who the hell are you?" "Elora." She didn't offer a hand. Just the name, flat and final, as if it explained everything. "Well, Elora, unless you're here to help, you might want to stand behind something thick and non-flammable. Preferably in another room." Her gaze didn't waver. "I studied plasma systems." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Lucky me. I studied barely not dying. Want to compare notes?" She didn't laugh, didn't even smile. Instead, she stepped closer, brushing a lock of hair behind one of those strange ears as if daring him to notice. He did, and immediately looked away, pretending to tighten a bolt that was already tight. The gesture wasn't about vanity, he caught the sharpness in her movement, the practiced edge of someone used to defiance. "Your alignment's off," she said, crouching beside him. Her hands moved with precision, recalibrating the stabilizers without hesitation. For a moment, Marcus just watched her work, unsettled by the silence that hung around her like an aura. She wasn't shy, exactly, more like she'd built walls around herself out of iron and sarcasm. The conduit steadied, its dangerous flicker softening into a steady hum. Elora withdrew her hands, wiping them on her jumpsuit. "There. It won't explode." "Probably." "Probably," Marcus echoed, still half expecting the thing to burst anyway. He gave her a sidelong glance. "You always comfort people like that, or am I special?" This time her lips curved. Definitely not a smile, but the ghost of one. "You're special." He wanted to laugh, but something in her tone stopped him. Dry humor, yes, but threaded with something heavier. He cleared his throat, trying to shake the strange weight in the air. "Well, thank you, Elora the Plasma Whisperer. Save me from death by toaster coil. I owe you one. You owe me nothing. She stood, hair falling forward again, ears hidden. I'm only keeping the ship from tearing itself apart. The captain doesn't care who does the fixing, as long as it gets done. And then she turned, moving toward the door as if the conversation was already over. Marcus stared after her, baffled. He'd met hundreds of people in the black, smugglers, scientists, space truckers with hygiene levels best left undescribed, but none of them had unsettled him quite like Elora. Something about her silence was louder than any scream. The conduit gave a reassuring hum, alive for now. Marcus leaned against the bulkhead, letting out a long breath. Great, he muttered to himself. Ships falling apart, sparks raining from the ceiling, and now I've got mysterious elves giving me engineering advice. Definitely not ominous at all. But deep down, beneath the humor, he felt it, the sense that the horizon had just become much more dangerous. Not because of what might explode in the engine room, but because of a woman with long ears and eyes that looked at him like they knew a secret he wasn't ready to hear. The station smelled like hot oil, fried protein slabs, and bureaucracy. Marcus hated orbital stations. They were too loud, too crowded, too desperate to sell you things you didn't need. The Rust Bucket Horizon had docked at Varela 7 for refueling and parts, which meant Marcus had drawn the short straw and been dispatched to the bazaar. He waded through the crowd of merchants hawking everything from cryo-freeze strawberries to suspicious, antique Earth relics that were clearly manufactured last week. Above him, neon signs blinked in 17 languages, some of which Marcus couldn't even parse. One offered discount neural spasms for only 20 credits an hour. He decided not to ask. He was standing in front of a stall overflowing with fusion coils when Elora appeared at his elbow. Not suddenly, not stealthily, she simply slipped into place beside him like she had been there the whole time, silent as shadow. Marcus nearly dropped the crate he was examining. Do you practice that? He demanded. Appearing out of nowhere. Because if you do, congratulations. You're very good at heart attacks. Her eyes flicked to him, cool and indifferent. You're terrible at haggling. Marcus looked back at the merchant, who was grinning with 6 mouths stacked one above the other. I haven't even said anything yet. You're already radiating desperation, Elora replied. The merchant bobbed happily, extending a limb covered in glistening suction cups. For you, human, only double the price. Special deal. Marcus groaned. See what you've done. Now he knows. He tried to muster dignity. Listen, I'll give you half of what you're asking. The merchant's 6 mouths laughed in eerie harmony. For half price, I give you half a coil. Which end would you prefer, shiny side or dull? Elora stepped forward before Marcus could explode. She muttered something in the merchant's own language, fluid, clicking syllables Marcus had no chance of reproducing. The merchant's eyes widened. A pause. Then he slumped, adjusted a datapad, and pushed a crate toward Marcus. Fine. The lady gets real price. 40 credits. Marcus blinked, suspicious. 40. That's actually fair. Elora lifted one eyebrow. You're welcome. He stared at her. Okay, but what did you say to him? Some kind of Jedi mind trick? Or did you threaten to steal his suction cups? I told him your face suggested you couldn't survive another insult, she said calmly. Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it again. I don't know whether to thank you or file a complaint with HR. Do we even have HR? The captain drinks too much to qualify. Good point. They carried the crate back through the bazaar, weaving past shouting vendors and the occasional security drone buzzing overhead. Marcus kept sneaking glances at Elora, trying to read her expression. She wore it like armor, unreadable, steady, as if the chaos around them couldn't touch her. Her ears, those long arcs that caught every flicker of light, were hidden again beneath her hair. He tried for small talk. So, what do Lyrians usually buy at a place like this? Do you guys even shop, or do you just, I don't know, build everything out of starlight and poetry? Her lips twitched, almost smile. We eat. We breathe. We need coils. Same as you. Glad to hear it. I was starting to worry your people ran on smugness and moonlight. A silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable, but heavy. Marcus scratched the back of his neck. Hey, listen. About earlier. Thanks for saving the ship. And for, negotiating. I'm apparently useless at both. Elora didn't look at him. You're not useless. You're just loud. He snorted. Loud I can live with. Later, in the station's cantina, the crew gathered around dented tables, shouting over the hiss of fryers and the buzz of neon. Someone had already started singing badly in 3 languages. Marcus nursed a glass of something vaguely blue while Elora sat apart at the end of the table, sipping a drink that glowed faintly pink, her gaze fixed somewhere distant. She wore solitude like a uniform, and the others seemed to accept it. Marcus, already 2 drinks in, slid into the seat across from her. You always sit like you're guarding a secret treasure. What's in that drink, anyway? Looks like liquid bubblegum. It's called Relassa. Mildly toxic to humans. He stared at her glass, then at her. You're trying to kill me, aren't you? Not yet. Her deadpan delivery made him laugh hard enough that he almost spilled his own drink. Elora watched him, puzzled, as if unsure what to do with the sound. Marcus wiped his mouth, still chuckling. You're funny, you know that. Sharp funny. Like a scalpel. I'm not trying to be. That's the best kind. He leaned closer, squinting at her. You ever think about letting your hair down? Literally, I mean. Hiding those ears all the time, it's a shame. Her hand froze on her glass. Slowly, she set it down, eyes narrowing. Why would you say that? Because they're elegant, Marcus said, the word escaping before he could catch it. Different, yeah, but in a good way. She went still, utterly still, as if the room and its noise had dropped away. Then she whispered, so low he almost didn't catch it, no one ever said that. Marcus blinked, sobered by the weight in her tone. He opened his mouth to answer, but at that moment a drunk crewman fell across their table, sloshing blue liquid everywhere and breaking the moment into shards. Elora rose swiftly, her expression closed off again, hair falling forward to hide her ears. Marcus sat there, damp with spilled drink, wondering what the hell had just happened, and why it mattered so much. The first warning came as a tremor beneath Marcus's boots, subtle at first, then sharp enough to rattle the tools on his workbench. He glanced up from the half-disassembled coolant pump, expecting to see the usual chaos, someone dropping cargo, or the captain bumping the docking clamps with all the grace of a drunken walrus. Instead, the lights flickered red, and the Horizon's voice, an outdated AI with the personality of a bored librarian, announced, unscheduled hull degradation detected. Please panic responsibly. Marcus dropped his spanner. That is not the kind of announcement I like before breakfast. He bolted into the corridor. The hum of the ship was wrong, too sharp, like something chewing on the walls. At the intersection, Elora was already there, crouched low, her hand pressed against the bulkhead as though listening. It's spreading, she said. Her voice was flat, but her ears twitched slightly, like antennae picking up static. Marcus frowned. Spreading what? Don't tell me termites. Galactic termites would ruin my day. Her eyes met his, steady. Nanites. Marcus froze. You mean the teeny, tiny, mechanical ants that eat starships for breakfast? Those nanites? Yes. The bulkhead shivered again, a hairline crack glowing faintly as though something inside was burning away the metal molecule by molecule. Marcus hissed through his teeth. Well, that's just fantastic. We can't go 1 week without this ship trying to die creatively. Elora didn't smile. She simply stood, brushing hair from her face, ears catching the flicker of red warning lights. Engineering bay. Now. They sprinted together, alarms echoing, doors sealing off behind them with sluggish clunks. The Horizon wasn't built for speed, she was built for stubborn refusal to quit. And Marcus swore he could hear the nanites gnawing their way through the hull as they ran. Inside the bay, Marcus lunged for the control console, summoning diagnostic scans. The display showed spreading blotches of red across the outer hull, growing like mold. That's not good. That's the opposite of good. That's catastrophic in progress. Elora moved past him, hands flying over the interface with a familiarity that made Marcus pause. You said you studied plasma systems, he muttered. You didn't say you studied, whatever this is. Nanite engineering. She didn't look at him. I was trained for containment. It didn't work out. Define, didn't work out. Her expression tightened, but she didn't answer. Instead, she accessed a series of commands that Marcus had never seen before, layering counter-signal protocols. The nanite blotches slowed. Not stopped, but slowed. Marcus hovered beside her, equal parts impressed and alarmed. You do realize this is the part where I'm supposed to say, oh good, we're saved, but I've seen too many bad movies. This is usually the part where it backfires and eats the engine room first. She shot him a look, dry and sharp. Do you want to help or provide commentary? I'm multi-talented. Despite the tension, Marcus jumped in, working alongside her, rerouting power to contain the spread. Sweat beaded at his temples. Elora's movements were precise, almost graceful, each adjustment purposeful. But beneath that control, Marcus saw the flicker of something raw, fear, buried deep but real. The Horizon groaned again, a low metallic howl. Marcus muttered, if this ship survives, I'm buying her a medal. And maybe therapy. Elora's lips twitched. Just a fraction, but it was there. Ships don't need therapy. This one does. She's seen things. The nanites recoiled as Elora initiated a localized plasma purge, flooding targeted sections of the hull with heat intense enough to fry them. The display lit up, red blotches shrinking. Marcus whooped. Yes. Burn, you microscopic freeloaders. But the victory was short. Another blotch surged, splitting into two new growths. Marcus's celebration died. Oh, they multiply. Of course they multiply. Because why not make things worse? Elora's hand stilled on the console. Her voice was low. We can't hold them back forever. Marcus looked at her. Then we cheat. What do nanites hate most? Disruption. Incoherent signals. Noise. He grinned. Noise I can do. 10 minutes later, the Horizon's external speakers blasted ancient Earth pop music into the void, tinny, off-key, and at a frequency calibrated to confuse the nanites. The display flickered as their growth faltered, movements erratic. Elora stared at the console. That's working. Marcus wiped grease across his cheek, grinning. Never underestimate the destructive power of bad karaoke. The nanites shriveled under the combined assault of plasma purges and sonic interference until, finally, the display cleared. Marcus collapsed into a chair, breathing hard. Well. That was terrible. Let's never do it again. Elora stood silent, her hair falling forward once more to shadow her ears. Marcus, chest still heaving, looked at her. Seriously. Where'd you learn all that? Her gaze flicked to him, unreadable. You wouldn't understand. Try me. But she turned away, her voice quieter now. If my people valued what I knew, I wouldn't be here. Marcus frowned, unsure what to say. The silence stretched, heavy, until he finally muttered, "For what it's worth, you just saved the ugliest ship in the galaxy. That counts for something." Ellora's lips curved, faint and fleeting. "It's a handsome brick." Marcus barked a laugh, surprised by her echo of his own earlier joke. For a moment, the tension broke, and in the dim hum of the horizon's battered heart, Marcus thought maybe, just maybe, he'd glimpsed something behind her armor. The mess hall smelled like burnt protein packs and victory. Someone had strung up flickering light strips scavenged from the cargo bay, giving the room the desperate cheer of a festival held inside a broken refrigerator. Music blared from an ancient speaker in the corner, tinny, distorted, but enthusiastic, and the crew of the Rust Bucket Horizon had decided that surviving ravenous nanites was worth a celebration. Marcus sat at a table with a bottle of something bright orange that claimed to be beer. He'd stopped asking questions about color in alcohol years ago. Across the room, two deckhands attempted to arm wrestle under zero-gravity conditions, which mostly resulted in them floating in slow circles while shouting insults. Every now and then, someone smacked the gravity stabilizer with a wrench to coax it back into working order. Ellora entered quietly, unnoticed at first, slipping along the wall until she reached a corner seat. Her hair was loose, hiding the arcs of her ears. Marcus spotted her instantly. It wasn't that she tried to stand out, quite the opposite, but in a room full of shouting, swaying humans and aliens, her silence was louder than the music. He grabbed his bottle and staggered toward her, the floor pitching slightly under his boots. "If it isn't the heroine of the hour," he announced, plopping into the seat opposite her. "Savior of ships, bane of nanites, breaker of my fragile ego, but I'll forgive you for that." Her glass contained a liquid that pulsed faintly with its own light, casting soft pink reflections across her face. She lifted it in acknowledgement but said nothing. Marcus leaned closer. "You know, if you keep sitting in corners like a mysterious assassin, people are going to start making up stories about you. Personally, I'd spread the rumor that you single-handedly wrestled a nanite queen into submission. There is no such thing as a nanite queen." "Details," he said, waving his hand. "Stories don't need details. They need flair." This earned the tiniest quirk at the corner of her mouth. Encouraged, Marcus thumped his bottle onto the table. "Tell you what. Since we survived certain death, I'll teach you something legendary. Ancient Earth dance moves. Guaranteed to impress and/or horrify." Her eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Dance." "Yes. Observe." He stood, wobbling slightly, and launched into a clumsy rendition of the Macarena. The crew noticed instantly, half of them clapping along, the other half jeering. Marcus exaggerated every motion, slapping his shoulders, hips, and spinning with a flourish that nearly sent him crashing into a serving tray. The mess hall erupted in laughter. Ellora, however, sat motionless, watching him with an expression somewhere between disbelief and pity. "Come on," Marcus urged, panting slightly. "Join me. It's a universal language. Like math, only stupider. I don't dance. Neither do I. That's the beauty of it." Someone shoved a stool aside to clear space, chanting his name. Marcus grinned, bowing dramatically before collapsing back into his seat. "See? Instant legend. You're welcome." Finally, Ellora's lips curved, not into her usual sharp smirk, but into an actual laugh. Soft at first, then richer, spilling past her control. The sound startled Marcus more than the nanites ever had. He blinked. "There it is. Proof you're not secretly a robot. I had my suspicions." She shook her head, still smiling faintly. "You're ridiculous." "True. But ridiculous keeps ships alive." He raised his bottle in a mock toast. "And sometimes, ridiculous makes people laugh who haven't laughed in a while." Her smile faded, replaced by something quieter. She set her glass down, fingers brushing its rim. "You don't understand. Try me. She hesitated, then spoke low enough that the music nearly drowned her words. Lyrians don't consider ears like mine normal. They're considered a flaw. Ugly. Marcus blinked, caught off guard. Ugly? Are you kidding? They look, he stopped himself, then blurted anyway, they look elegant. Ellora's breath caught. Her hand tightened around the glass. She didn't look at him, only whispered, no one ever said that. For a heartbeat, the room's noise seemed distant, the music, the laughter, the stomping boots. Marcus leaned forward, words tangling on his tongue. He wanted to say more, something that would erase the weight in her voice, but before he could, one of the drunken deckhands toppled into their table, sending glasses clattering. The moment shattered. Ellora rose swiftly, hair falling back into place, her ears hidden once more. Without a word, she slipped from the mess hall, vanishing into the corridor beyond. Marcus sat amid spilled drinks and roaring laughter, staring after her. The celebration went on, oblivious. He lifted his bottle, drained it, and muttered, "Well done, Havelock. Survive killer nanites, but a compliment nearly kills you." The crew around him cheered another off-key song, but Marcus's mind lingered elsewhere, on the quiet curve of ears hidden beneath hair, and the whisper of words that clung to him long after Ellora was gone. The hangover arrived before the morning did. Marcus sat slumped in the horizon's galley with his forehead pressed to the table, groaning softly while the coffee dispenser wheezed out a sludge so thick it could double as hull sealant. He muttered into the table's surface, "Never trust orange beer. That's on me. Should have known better." Across from him, Ellora stirred a bowl of nutrient paste with the slow, deliberate motions of someone who had never been hungover in her life. Or maybe she was just hiding it better. Her hair fell forward as usual, ears concealed, her expression giving nothing away. "You're too loud," Marcus mumbled. "I haven't said anything," she replied. "Exactly." Deafening silence. He lifted his head just enough to squint at her. "Do Lyrians even get hangovers? Or do you just wake up glowing, like smug space elves? Hangovers are human." She pushed the bowl aside. "We metabolize alcohol differently. We don't drink to forget." Marcus groaned again. "Trust me, I'll never forget last night. My dancing scarred at least 6 people for life." The intercom crackled with the captain's gravelly voice. "Horizon's got a new contract. Scientific shipment. Fragile as hell. Marcus, Ellora, you're on babysitting duty. Try not to break anything valuable, unlike last time." Marcus raised his head. "That fuel pump broke itself." The intercom cut out without argument. Marcus sighed, pushing himself upright. "Well, looks like we're science nannies now. Hope you brought your lab coat." Ellora said nothing, but she was already on her feet, heading toward the cargo bay. The shipment arrived in sealed stasis chambers, tall, transparent cylinders filled with blue suspension gel. Inside floated delicate constructs Marcus didn't recognize, coils of living tissue interwoven with filigree metal, beating faintly like tiny mechanical hearts. A research team on some colony wanted them delivered intact. Marcus stared through the glass. "Looks like someone stuck jewelry inside a jellyfish." "Biotech prototypes," Ellora said. "If the stasis fields fail, they destabilize." "Destabilize how?" Loud bang. Horrible goo explosion. "Both." Marcus patted the chamber like it was a sleeping dog. "Well, nothing says job security like potentially exploding science pets. Let's keep them alive." They worked side by side, monitoring stasis fields, rerouting auxiliary power to stabilize the load. Marcus cracked jokes about being promoted to head babysitter and inventing lullabies for biotech hearts, but Ellora only offered the occasional dry remark. She seemed more comfortable buried in calibration than in conversation. Hours stretched into silence broken only by the hum of machines. Marcus fidgeted. "Finally," he said, "you've been avoiding me." Elora didn't look up. I've been working. Working very far away from me, Marcus countered. Since the party. Her hands stilled briefly on the console, then resumed. You were drunk. True. But not blind. Her gaze flicked to him, sharp and guarded. It meant nothing. Marcus leaned back, sighing. You know, for someone who saved a whole ship from space termites, you're terrible at accepting compliments. They aren't meant for me. He tilted his head. Who decided that? Some council of perfectly eared judges. She bristled, hair slipping slightly to reveal the arc of one ear before she shoved it back. You don't understand. Lyrians, she cut herself off, voice hard. We value symmetry. Precision. Mine mark me as defective. Marcus frowned, scratching at his jaw. Defective? That's a word for malfunctioning engines, not people. Elora turned away, hands flying over the console as though burying the conversation beneath data streams. It doesn't matter. We should focus on the cargo. Marcus let the silence linger, then muttered, for the record, I wasn't joking. About what? About your ears. He tapped a readout, feigning casualness. They're beautiful. The stasis chambers hummed softly, their contents floating like alien hearts. Elora's shoulders tensed. For a long moment she didn't reply. Then, so faint he almost missed it, she said, You talk too much. Marcus grinned. Talking keeps the ship from exploding. It's my superpower. As if summoned by the joke, the horizon shuddered violently, lights flickering. Marcus grabbed the console. That wasn't me, I swear. The alarm klaxons blared. The display showed an energy surge, one of the stasis chambers destabilizing, blue gel rippling in agitation. Elora cursed under her breath and dove into the controls, her calm precision suddenly fierce. Marcus scrambled beside her, rerouting power, joking breathlessly, see? We ask the universe for excitement and it delivers. Free of charge. The chamber stabilized after agonizing seconds, the beating biotech heart inside slowing back to normal. Silence returned, broken only by Marcus's wheezing laugh. I should stop making jokes. Every time I do, something nearly kills us. Elora glanced at him, her face unreadable, but her eyes softer than before. Then don't stop. Marcus blinked. For once, he had no comeback. He just stared at her while the horizon rumbled gently, carrying them deeper into the black. The first pirate ship appeared out of nowhere, sleek, black, and armed with particle lances that glittered like spears of lightning. The horizon sensors barely had time to scream before the second and third ships decloaked alongside it. The comm crackled with a distorted voice demanding surrender, but Marcus was already sprinting for engineering. The horizon shuddered under the first blast. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Somewhere above, the captain was shouting curses in 3 languages, but Marcus tuned it out. He burst into the engine room just as Elora skidded in from the opposite door, her eyes sharp, her ears twitching like radar dishes at the rising hum of danger. 3 ships, Marcus panted. Armed to the teeth. I counted 4, Elora corrected, flipping open a panel with precise efficiency. Marcus froze. 4. She gave him a pointed look. Do you want to argue or survive? Can I do both? Another blast rocked the ship, throwing Marcus against the wall. He staggered up, shaking his head. Fine. Survival first. Arguments later. Preferably with snacks. Together they dove into the consoles. Marcus rerouted power from the ship's already ailing life support systems while Elora recalibrated plasma conduits with the cold focus of a surgeon. The horizon was old, clunky, and very allergic to sudden heroics, but she had one advantage: Marcus knew every bolt and pipe like his own bones. Plasma charge might overload the conduits, Elora warned. Overload is just a fancy word for enthusiasm, Marcus shot back. Another blast rattled the hull, alarms howling. Ellora's jaw tightened. We don't have long. Marcus grinned despite himself. Then let's get creative. He yanked a bundle of coolant tubes free, jury-rigging them into an impromptu launcher. Ellora's brows knit in disbelief. What are you doing? Building the universe's first death toaster. That isn't a real weapon. It will be in about 30 seconds. She hesitated, then helped him stabilize the rig, adjusting the flow regulators. Together, they funneled raw plasma through the system, channeling it toward the external ports. Marcus grunted, sweat running down his neck. All right. On my mark, 3, 2. The horizon lurched violently. Their plasma cannon belched a white-hot stream into the void, catching one of the pirate ships square across its bow. The sleek vessel shuddered, shields flickering, before it veered off course smoking. Marcus whooped. Yes. Tell me that wasn't the most beautiful toaster you've ever seen. Ellora allowed the smallest of smiles. Functional. Barely. That's my brand. But their celebration was short-lived. The other pirate ships pressed harder, battering the horizon with relentless fire. Panels sparked, the floor shook, and Marcus's beloved ship wailed like a wounded animal. Ellora crouched low beside him, her hands moving with fierce precision. We can't hold them back. Marcus tightened his grip on the controls. Then we cheat harder. He rerouted auxiliary power to the comm system, fingers flying. Ellora frowned. What are you doing now? Pirates hate chaos, right? Time to give them a taste. He slammed the system online, broadcasting across every frequency he could reach. Moments later, the void filled with an ungodly racket, distorted static, feedback shrieks, and because Marcus had a twisted sense of humor, ancient Earth yodeling tracks pulled from the ship's music archive. The pirate ships faltered, their targeting systems glitching as the interference spread. One fired wildly at its own ally. Ellora's eyes widened in shock, then disbelief, then something dangerously close to amusement. You're weaponizing, yodeling. Marcus grinned. Don't knock it till you try it. The horizon's jury-rigged plasma cannon fired again, and another pirate ship limped away, retreating into the dark. The remaining attackers hesitated, confused by the sonic chaos, then turned tail and vanished into hyperspace. Silence fell, broken only by the ship's haggard groans. Marcus slumped against the console, panting. We did it. We actually did it. Note to self, always keep yodeling in the emergency playlist. Ellora exhaled slowly, lowering her hands from the controls. Her hair slipped forward, but she didn't bother to hide her ears this time. Instead, she looked at Marcus with a steadiness that made him pause. You never stopped fighting, she said quietly. Neither did you. She shook her head. I trusted you. The words hung heavier than the silence that followed. Marcus, still catching his breath, gave her a crooked grin. Well. That's a first. Usually people trust me last, and regret it immediately. Her lips curved, not into her usual smirk but into something softer. Not this time. Marcus blinked, then laughed, awkward, too loud. Careful. Keep saying things like that, and I'll start thinking you like me. Ellora rolled her eyes, but the faint smile remained. The horizon creaked around them, battered but alive, carrying them once more through the endless dark. For the first time, Marcus realized the silence between them wasn't so heavy anymore. It was comfortable. Like the calm after surviving something impossible together. And if he noticed the way her ears caught the dim light, graceful and unashamed, he didn't say a word. Not yet. The asteroid city of Caroan glittered like a neon barnacle clinging to the edge of nothing. From the horizon's viewport, Marcus watched 1,000 lights pulse inside tunnels carved into raw rock, glowing advertisements promising everything from miracle gene therapy to all-you-can-eat tentacle buffets. He pressed his nose against the glass like a tourist. "I don't trust places that advertise tentacles as food," he muttered. "They're always still moving when you try to eat them." Behind him, Elora checked the ship's manifest with the same calm precision she applied to everything. "We dock, we deliver the cargo, we leave." Marcus turned, grinning. Ah, yes, the classic plan. Efficient, boring, guaranteed to be ruined within the hour. Sure enough, within 30 minutes of docking, Carrowan lived up to his prediction. The docks were chaos. Ships of every shape jammed into bays, air thick with fuel fumes and shouting. Marcus shouldered through the crowd with Elora close behind, their path lit by signs that flickered in 17 alphabets. Halfway across the concourse, Marcus spotted them, a group of tall, sharp-looking figures with ears like Elora's. Lyrians. They noticed her instantly. One of them leaned to the others, whispered something, and laughter followed. Marcus didn't know the language, but he knew the tone. It was the universal sound of mockery, sharpened like a blade. Elora's shoulders stiffened, though she didn't look at them. Marcus did. "Hey," he called, too loudly. The Lyrians turned, their laughter cutting short. Marcus jabbed a thumb at himself. "If you're looking for ugly, I've got you beat. You should see my knees. Hideous. They bend like broken hinges." The Lyrians stared at him, baffled. One muttered something, another scoffed, and then they turned away, dismissing him entirely. Elora kept walking, her pace quickening, but Marcus caught the brief flicker of tension in her jaw. When they reached the quieter tunnels of the repair district, Marcus said softly, "You don't have to let them get to you." Her reply was sharp. "You don't understand." He scratched the back of his neck. "Maybe not. But I know jerks when I see them. And those were professional-grade jerks." Despite herself, Elora's lips curved faintly. "You're impossible." "Correct. But impossible keeps me employed." They spent the afternoon overseeing the offload of the biotech cargo. The repair district smelled of ozone and hot metal, sparks flying as drones welded patchwork onto passing freighters. Marcus fussed over the horizon's battered hull while Elora monitored the stasis chambers. Every so often, Marcus tried to lighten the mood, comparing the cargo drones to giant flying Roombas with commitment issues, but Elora remained distant, her eyes fixed somewhere else. Later, as they walked back through Carrowan's winding tunnels, Marcus tried again. Back there, when those Lyrians laughed, he hesitated, uncharacteristically careful. "Why let them decide what you're worth?" Elora stopped. The glow from a nearby sign painted her face in shifting pink and green light. She met his gaze, her expression unreadable. "Because they already decided. Before I was even old enough to argue." Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. For once, he didn't have a joke ready. The silence stretched between them until Elora sighed and turned away. They returned to the horizon that evening, the ship humming quietly as if glad to see them back. In engineering, Marcus busied himself with minor repairs while Elora lingered nearby, as if she had something unsaid balanced on her tongue. Finally, she broke the silence. "You're different." Marcus glanced up, grease streaked across his forehead. "Different how? Like charmingly roguish, or clinically insane?" "Both." She leaned against the console, her hair slipping slightly, revealing one ear. She didn't cover it this time. "You see me the way no one else does." Marcus blinked, caught off guard. "Well, yeah. You're you." And that's, he stopped himself before he blurted something too earnest, scratching at the grease on his cheek instead. "That's not exactly replaceable, is it?" For a long moment she just looked at him, her eyes searching his face. Then, softly, she said, "You don't need to fix me." Marcus chuckled, though his voice was rougher than he intended. "Good. I'm already too busy fixing the ship." The horizon groaned as if in agreement, and the moment broke into laughter, hers, quiet but real, his, too loud and awkward, but genuine. For the first time, Marcus thought maybe she was letting him glimpse something she had hidden from everyone else. And for once, he didn't rush to fill the silence. He just let it linger, steady and unhurried, as the stars outside wheeled past Carowin's neon glow. The horizon drifted on the edge of the Veil Nebula, its battered hull glowing faintly from the light of dying stars. Marcus sat cross-legged on the floor of engineering, a half-empty toolbox beside him, staring at the panel he'd been repairing for the last hour. Really, he was just avoiding what he knew had to come next. Across from him, Elora stood quietly, her arms folded, her ears catching the light like silver blades. For once, she didn't look guarded. She just looked, waiting. "You ever notice," Marcus began, fiddling with a loose bolt, "that every time I fix this ship, it breaks somewhere else? It's like patching holes in a sieve. Or like juggling while standing on roller skates during an earthquake." Elora arched a brow. "You've tried that?" Marcus grinned. "Not on purpose." Her lips curved, and the silence softened. It struck him then, how different things felt. When they first met, she carried silence like armor, heavy and sharp-edged. Now it was lighter. A pause instead of a wall. He wanted to keep that, somehow. The calm crackled, interrupting his thoughts. Captain Reese's gruff voice filled the room. "Marcus, Elora, report to the bridge. Now. We've got visitors." Marcus groaned. "If it's more pirates, I'm voting we fake an engine failure and just drift until they get bored." Elora gave him a sideways look. "You'd suffocate." "Worth it," he muttered, pushing himself up. On the bridge, the view was less than comforting. Another Lyrian vessel floated nearby, its design elegant and predatory, like a blade forged from light. Marcus felt Elora tense beside him. The calm link opened, revealing a Lyrian envoy in ceremonial garb. His words were smooth, practiced, his tone sharp enough to cut. "We have tracked the fugitive aboard your vessel. Deliver her, or be destroyed." The crew turned instinctively to Elora. She stood rigid, her face unreadable, but Marcus saw the storm flicker in her eyes. This was it, the weight she had carried, the reason for every flinch and guarded glance. Reese cursed under his breath. "We can't fight them. Not in this state." Marcus stepped forward before he realized what he was doing. "You want her," he said, voice shaking but loud. "Then you're idiots." The envoy blinked. "Explain." Marcus swallowed, but momentum carried him forward. "Because you've already lost. See, Elora isn't what you think she is. You say she's a fugitive, broken, worthless. But she's the one who kept this ship running when your hunters nearly tore us apart. She's the one who saved me, saved all of us, more times than I can count. And you know what else? He hesitated, the words burning in his throat. He forced them out anyway. "She's beautiful. And if you can't see that, then maybe you're the worthless ones." The bridge went silent. Even the hum of the engine seemed to pause. Marcus felt his ears burn, and not just from the stares of the crew. He'd said it out loud. No yodeling playlist in the galaxy could save him now. The envoy sneered, but Marcus caught the flicker of unease. The Lyrian ship didn't fire. Instead, it cut the transmission and slowly drifted back, vanishing into the nebula's light. The crew let out a collective breath. Reese muttered something about lunatics under his command, but Marcus barely heard. He turned to Elora. She hadn't moved, but her eyes shone with something fierce, something unguarded. "No one ever said that," she whispered. Marcus rubbed the back of his neck. "Well. First time for everything." For a heartbeat, the bridge was too small, too bright, too full of everything unsaid. Then Elora laughed, not sharp or restrained, but soft and real. Marcus felt something in his chest unclench. Later, when the horizon was safely cruising again, Marcus found her in the observation bay. She stood by the glass, watching the nebula swirl like painted fire. He joined her, hands shoved deep into his pockets. "You know," he said, "I didn't mean to make a big speech. I was aiming for, I don't know, something witty. Maybe a pun about ears. But it kind of slipped out." Elora tilted her head, amused. "You regret it?" He shook his head. "No." "Terrified?" "Yes." "But regret?" "Not a chance." They stood in silence, watching the stars whirl past. Finally, Elora spoke. "You've changed me." Marcus blinked. "Me? I haven't done anything." "You did everything," she said simply. "You saw me. And now I can't go back to believing I'm less than I am." He swallowed hard, trying to play it off with a crooked grin. "Guess I'll take credit then. Maybe put it on my resume." Marcus Flint, engineer, toaster angler, confidence builder of beautiful alien women. Elora laughed, and it was the best sound he'd ever heard. The horizon carried them onward, patched and scarred but alive. And for once, Marcus didn't feel like he was just drifting between disasters. He felt anchored, steady, not because the ship was whole, it never would be, but because, for the first time, so was he. And somewhere between the sparks of battle and the silence of stars, he realized that maybe this was what it meant to find worth, not in parts that needed fixing, but in the simple act of being seen.